And honestly, and here's the craziest part, we would have done very similar work. We would have been racking our brain trying to figure out how to get the same results and keep them month after month after month. But the relationship has fundamentally changed. Now we're directly incentivized not to try to keep our client, but to get him better results, which is fundamentally different. That's the difference between trying to have a great marriage versus trying to not get a divorce. Like they're two different relationships, right?
Thank you for listening to the Online Business Spotlight. Remember to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're using. Thanks.
Recording?
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, so this is pretty much open-ended. I mean, I don't know if you do these a lot, but just kind of give us all the details, your life, your story, all that
normal
kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do like an interview like once every 2 weeks, but it's usually like in my public group because like there's like all this like interaction and stuff like that. But it's totally cool. Like what is like your audience interested in, or what are they trying to accomplish? Like what's their like biggest challenges? You know what I mean? Like give me some background.
Yeah, so it's basically just online business owners, people that are trying to start something online, starting a new site to sell things or, digital businesses, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Not necessarily
like effectively from like zero, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That. I do want to say zero is like the most exciting part. Like I've had to restart my business or lines of businesses probably 3 or 4 times in the past 5 years. And starting out from scratch is probably like the most fun because everything works. Everything is an option and everything is an opportunity. Contrast that to like when like you're a year or 2 years or 3 years down the line, you're like, oh my God, what was the Calendly link? I can't change anything because it's working and I can't try to schedule once. So I'm freaking out. Or like you've built a Zapier thing and you can't find it anymore. You can't try Integromat and you're just kind of like tech debted into like an old way of working. Yeah. And with online marketing and online businesses, stuff changes so fast that being able to rebuild or build from zero is like really, really fun and really, really cool. A little bit of background on like me in case like your audience isn't like aware or anything like that.
Yeah.
My name is Jeff. I run the Ask Fam Agency Scaling Secrets. It's a Facebook group that's about Facebook ads and specifically Facebook ad agency and online advertising and stuff like that. I started my agency journey 3 years ago from zero, absolute scratch. And the reason why I started wasn't because I woke up one morning and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do an online business. It's usually a function of something else. And particularly for me, I got fired 3 times in 9 months from the only real job I ever had. Like I was an MBA grad from Washington University in St. Louis. I got recruited to work for my first Fortune 50 company. I was like, this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be a consultant. It's gonna be super fun. And then 9 months later, I'd been fired 3 times. Company had laid off 2,000 people. And all that talk of like 401ks and bonus plans and a steady job with a mortgage just kind of like disappeared. Like I remember seeing people getting walked out that had worked for this company for 10 years and their lives were just over. And that was my introduction to corporate America.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if this is how it's going to be, my life is going to suck a whole lot. And after the 3rd time of getting fired 3 times in 9 months, I was like, all right, I can't keep doing this. And I had to move back home at the age of 30 to my parents' spare bedroom. A failure at zero. My girlfriend broke up with me. The company took back the apartment, the car. All I was in debt. It was like as rock bottom can get. Yep. And effectively what happens is you get these walls, like these things. You're like, this is my life. Nothing else, kind of like a lion in a cage type of feeling. And a function of that is just everything sucks. And you can't really communicate that. It's just like, I guess this is my life kind of thing. And what I ended up doing was I went back to the skills I learned in undergrad as side gigging, building WordPress sites. And that's when like WordPress, like they just introduced like multi-users or something like that, or multi-sites. It was like a big deal. And their theme was like jazz. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. We don't have to have like 10 different sites. We can have one site with like 10 different ones underneath it. I was like really, really excited about it. I was building WordPress sites. And I was talking to one of my dad's friends and I was like, I know how to build a WordPress site. He's like, oh, that's cool. Can I pay you to do it? And I was like, oh my God. That was like the first time somebody offered to pay me money. Up to that point, my journey was like incurring obligations and saying, okay, maybe I'll do it. Right. And I got a sale by sending a text message saying it'll be $1,800. Would you like to pay now? I can charge you. He's like, sure. I was like, oh my God, he paid me money. I still have that text message saved. I was like, holy shit. Right. And after I built the site, which looking back took way too long, way too many edits, right? Yeah. That's just where people are in their journey, especially if they're like starting from zero. Everything takes too long and there's too much back and forth, but whatever, you got a sale, right?
And you don't know how to do it either,
Oh yeah, you have no fucking clue. You're like, I trust my ability to find an answer, but you don't know how to do it, right? Yeah. And then you get stuck in like the weirdest details of like, how come the text doesn't format correctly inside of the frame? And you're just racking your brain and like thinking like this client campaign is going to bomb because you don't know how to do. It's not true, but that's where you are. And after he text messages me saying, hey, thanks so much for the site, he said, I guess this is the end of it. I said, well, you could pay me for like monthly maintenance. He's like, I'm not paying you for monthly maintenance. It's a site, it's done. We're going to put it on GoDaddy, end of discussion. And I was like, well, that's it. I guess I could find more WordPress customers or something, or clients or websites, something like that. Yeah. And he goes, do you know how to get in customers? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I started Googling, similar to when I was trying to find a solution to WordPress problems. I ended up figuring out Facebook ads, going down a journey, paid for the first course, my last $997, and been up and up and up ever since. Since we've rebuilt our agency during Corona, we have I think we're on our 50th or 60th client for a done for you service at $2,000 or $3,000 a month. Not all of them are currently active. People come on and off. It's not that big of a deal. But now we're exploring pay per show, which I think is like the next big thing for direct response marketing and advertising agencies like myself and the team that I lead. And we're charging one client $3,000 a week on average. And he's looking to double that next month. And I was like, holy crap. That's when the numbers get really, really big. I've been documenting my journey. People have been following me. It's not my intention to build a group, but there's 56,000 people in it now. And we've got a lunch and learn every week and an interview every week. And it's really darn fun and really darn cool. And the reason why I told everybody that story is if you're starting out from zero, everything sucks. Nothing works. Everything is a horrible time. And I'll tell you what, I've been there. It does get better, but it all starts with your first client or customer. Yeah. When you get that first client or customer, just ask that question, what else do you need? And 99 times out of 100, it's more clients and more customers. If you know how to deliver more clients and more customers, everybody loves your stuff. They're going to pay you an F ton of money for it. And you're going to make a very fair and a very fair salary. Let's just say that. Like, it's a big number. But once you crack the code on how to generate clients and customers, people from all over the world will try to pay you money. And it's really darn cool because of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what people want. Some people are trying to they want to pay per customer. I mean, they're just looking for that. So
that's pretty cool.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the pay per show and how that works?
So I grew up and my entire agency training and my background is very Mad Men style. That's how I imagine my agency would be. So you have a floor in downtown Chicago. You'd wear suits. You'd have a secretary, and people would come in and you drink Scotch Tuesdays at noon and think of weird ideas and pitch them, and people would pay you money. That's how I imagined agency life, right? Yeah. And something happened 10 to 15 years ago when that model just broke, and the democratization with AdWords and Facebook and YouTube ads. All of a sudden, some idiot in a box apartment could outperform a high-end Park Avenue agency. And ultimately, it's because companies just want more customers. And if you can do that, and you can do it without charging $300,000 a month, they're going to be jumping up and down, right? More so, if you can position yourself as somebody that's just trying to figure it out and not somebody that's an expert, people will naturally try to build you up. But if you come in and try and say you're an expert, they're going to try to tear you down. Oh, I'm an expert in everything. They're like, no, you have a typo in your email. And you're like, oh. But if you're hey, I'm just starting out, I'm trying everything out. They're like, hey, I liked 99% of your email except for this one thing. Let's do business. You're like, all right, it's much easier to be on the up and up permanently than trying to come up here and come down. But this was my training for agency. This is how I imagined it, right?
Yeah.
And so everything was hey, this is the plan. You're going to bring us on at 20, 30, 50, or $100,000 a month, which honestly is a normal retainer for some businesses. And you're going to pay us money, and every single month we're going to fight to keep you, and hopefully you're going to like our stuff, and one day you're going to fire me. That's the retainer relationship. And that's how I grew up with most of my clients and my customers. And I would pitch a car wash from a chamber of commerce meeting. He's like, yeah, this is cool. And I have the whole plan on the board. And I'll say, you're going to hire us to do this for you for $2,000 a month, knowing that a month later it's going to bomb. And then I have to sell them a new plan that would cost more money. And that was just the dance. I'm going to generate you. I'm going to run this Facebook ads program with custom research, soap opera sequence, retargeting, the whole shebang, business in a box kind of thing. It's going to cost you money. And in the back of my head, I know that this dude's front desk is so horrible, she's going to bomb the campaign. Or his pricing is so off that people are going to call, listen, and then hang up. And then I got to solve the next problem, which honestly is totally okay. But that's one of the challenges nobody talks about with agency. They're never saying like, hey, you always have to solve the next problem. They're always saying just get a client, and then you know that they're going to leave after a while. And that was my journey with agency for like 3.5 years. Until one day, and this is my current version of the agency, we're serving the medical space, medical offices, things like that. I get on the phone with the client that we're doing paper show for. And he goes, Jeff, look, I know you're going to charge me $3,500. That's fine. I don't care how long it takes for you to generate me 20 show-ups, but that's what I'm paying for. I don't care if you call it per month or whatever. I'm just letting you right now, I'm not going to pay your bill again until you get 20 shows. And you pay for everything. I don't care. As soon as they show up, awesome. And then when I get the 20 shows, I'm going to pay your next $3,500. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Right. And let me just check that math real fast because it doesn't seem right. 3,500 divided by 20. That's close. It was like 17 shows, but whatever.
Yeah.
It ended up being like $200 per show. I was like, oh, this is like pretty cool. Like this guy has challenged me appropriately. Like, all right, let's dance. Turns out this guy has like 7 locations. He's based out of a serious urban metropolitan area, like equivalent to like Miami, Chicago, LA, like things along those lines. And I was like, I like the cut of this guy's jib, let's boogie. So we run the campaign and we get him 20 shows, which we would have had to do anyway. It took us a month to deliver 20 people to show up, be interested, and want to buy what you have to sell. And it was up to him to convert. And he's like, all right, cool, let's do it again. And he paid us another $3,500. The contract says retainer. I'm thinking retainer. He's thinking he's paying for shows. Let's see how far this goes. Second month, we deliver the 20 shows in 3 weeks. He calls us up on the third week, the 21st or whatever, and says, all right, I'm ready for another show, another chunk of shows. I was like, okay, I'll send you an invoice. He's like, great. I was like, wait, did I just bill him twice? Does he not know this? Like, it's supposed to be month to month. And he's like, no, man, I don't care. Like what your contract says, I'm paying $3,500. I'm getting 20 shows. And I was like, cool, let's do it again. And we did it again and again and again. And we got faster and faster and faster and faster. And now we're delivering about 20 shows once a week, every week. And now he wants 20 shows every 2 or 3 days. We're just kind of spinning it up. And it's not just ad spend. There's other moving parts. Like you can't just put more gas in your car and it goes faster. Yeah. That's not how that works, right? You can't just put a bigger engine in the... There's a limit to like all the parts, right? So like what people will do, and this is a mistake that most agencies make when they try to try new stuff, is they're like, oh, we'll just put more into Facebook ads. No, not going to happen, right? You have to figure out the next bottleneck. So for example, the car, you can fill up the gas tank. Cool. How far are you going to go? How fast are you going to go? Let's just say you cap at 120 miles an hour. What's the next thing that you need to fix? You need a better engine. They need a transmission. They need a car. And they need to take out all the extra seats. You need to do other stuff. And so with him, we're doing other stuff. Like we're figuring out new offers. We're doing call auditing, call reporting. We hired a call center to call back and schedule for him. We're doing automatic follow. We built out a CRM. Like we're doing all the other things so that the business can do not $3,000 a month or $3,000 a week, but $3,000 every 2 or 3 days. And based upon the numbers and where he wants to go, this could be a $25,000 to $40,000 a month deal. And I'm like, damn, that's fucking cool. Because we got margin on this sucker. And he's a multi-location business owner. Those multi-location business owners tend to respond more positively to pay per performance kind of deals. And honestly, and here's the craziest part, we would have done very similar work. We would have been racking our brain trying to figure out how to get the same results and keep them month after month after month. But the relationship has fundamentally changed. Now we're directly incentivized not to try to keep our client, but to get him better results, which is fundamentally different. That's the difference between trying to have a great marriage versus trying to not get a divorce. Like they're two different relationships, right? And so with this client in particular, I'm like, oh man, like paper show is fucking awesome. And now we're migrating a lot of our clients that are currently on retainer to a paper show model. We're only pitching paper show. Actually, like the last retainer pitch that I did was yesterday. He paid. I was like, great, we're only doing paper show pitches now. And it's really darn cool. And if you're an agency starting out from scratch, the first thing that you have to do is get a response from the environment saying, you don't suck at your job. People are happy to pay you. They want to pay you, make sure they're taken care of. And it's a fair dollar even exchange. And that's where retainers fit really, really well. You'll do great work. They want to pay you money. Everything is going to be cool. I have a call right now. I'm not going to pick it up. and everything's going to be cool, great, fine, perfect. You're going to have a good time. After a while, retainer clients will naturally fall off, either because there's no more work to do, they've already dated you for a while and they don't want to go long term, or something comes up where like, hey, you know what, we're going on vacation and I don't want to pay my retainer while I'm on vacation. So they just cancel, and then they either don't renew or another agency comes on board.
Yeah.
But once you graduate and you're like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. I have a factory machine that pumps out stuff. You can sell that stuff. And it's very small business owned. It's very classical. Like, this is how your grandfather imagined your business should run. Nothing in our bones says retainer model. That's employee, right? Nothing says retainer model.
Yeah.
Every small business owner says, I'm going to buy some stuff. I'm going to do some stuff to it and sell it for more. And that's very pay per show or pay per lead. And when I think of the future for agencies, I think pay per show or pay per lead is going to be the next biggest, well, for me, I mean, other people are doing it. For me, like the next biggest thing, and ultimately moving people in the right direction faster, because retainer means you're just trying to keep a client, but pay per show means you're trying to get them a result. And high performing businesses, the ones that are market competitive, want to grow, have multiple locations, more aligned to this product and service than this product and service. And this guy right here has made over $300,000 with our campaign so far to date. And it's a function of a paper show. And that's where I think the model is moving. That's where I think it's going. I've got a whole other video. One's called the offer treadmill, where I think it's like moving forward. But for people who are starting out, like paper show is cool and exciting. It's just challenging in the beginning because you need a signal of like, people like your stuff, they want to pay you money, it's cool, you build your confidence over time. And then once you graduate out of like junior year and you go into like senior year, that's what you know what you're doing, everything is cool, you start doing paper show and you get some big ass checks because of it. So yeah.
What would you say to some of the people who might say you're incentivized to, like with pay per lead and stuff, you know, you're incentivized to just get them garbage leads, you know, that kind of thing?
That's the biggest criticism with pay per lead, and it's very, very fair. Yep. It's the same level of criticism that it comes with retainer lead, which is like you're just trying to do the bare minimum, and you'll just earn their business once every month, right before they cancel. And it's the same criticism, which is like, hey, we'll get you, and then we'll stop performing. That's retainer. Pay per lead, oh, we got you, and we'll send you shitty leads. It's the same exact problem, same exact scenario. And so what you can do is actually have like a strong level of what's called quality control, or increasing quality, or let the client pick from 2 or 3 different types of pay per lead. Same way with retainer. And if you look at like architect companies or architects or graphic designers, you can pick the level of experience that you want depending upon how much you want to pay. So if you want a junior level architect or a senior level architect or the CEO, they all have different rates. Same way with lawyers. Most businesses have something similar to that. Cool, great, fine, perfect, right? Do the same exact thing with pay per lead. You're like, look, we can just do pay per lead for you. We're going to charge you $10 per lead. Want to let you know you're going to have to do your own filtering. Quality is going to be garbage. There's not a lot of filtering. It's up to you. Do you have staff that can do this? They're going to say yes or no. If they say yes, great. Have a good time. Want to let you know, if you call me in 30 days and say like, hey, the leads are totally garbage, and I pick up the phone, I'm going to tell you right now, that's the biggest problem with this tier, but you're telling me that's okay. Is that right? Cool. Yeah. Sign the paperwork, have a good time, and just make sure the paperwork says like, I told you it wasn't going to work. Like just have like some type of disclaimer right there so they can come back and bitch and moan and complain. So that's like the bottom tier. The next tier is pay per lead plus a qualification process. So that could be a longer form. That could be multiple choice. That could be they've gone through a series of steps like a quiz or something like that. So here you can be like, hey, we're going to run your ad. We're going to generate a customer opportunity. They're going to see the ad, click on it, type in their name, number, and email, and answer 10 forms or 10 questions or blah, 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 or watch this video for at least 7 minutes and then schedule a meeting. And that's like the second tier. Cool. And that's still pay per lead, great, fine, perfect. Everything's cool. You're going to charge more for it. And then up here is super hyper qualified. They saw the ad, clicked on it, typed their name, number, and email. They filled out the form, and I have talked to them on the phone for at least 10 to 15 minutes, and they want to buy what you have to sell. And then we do a live transfer or a show. Like we'll schedule them on your calendar. And even with live transfers, like they'll argue 2 out of 10. With shows, we're going to have a 50% show rate. But as long as your client is aware and understanding, that's totally fine. With our pay per show model, we just went all the way up here. We're like, we're not going to do pay per lead and have that conversation. We're not going to do like Yeah, they filled a couple forms and then booked on the calendar. I looked at the marketplace, people were doing that and still had a huge no-show rate. Everybody was bitching, moaning, complaining. So I was like, all right, we're going to go here and we're going to make that customer client opportunity. See the ad, click on the ad, type in the name, number, and email, answer 5 or 6 questions, talk to somebody on my team, like a VA or inside sales agent, appointment setter, record the call, ask them a series of questions, and then either live transfer them to the front desk or book an appointment directly on my client's calendar. And that up here, you'll get the biggest bang for the buck. You'll still get no matter what, a client bitching, moaning, complaining like, oh, you sent me bad patients, you sent me bad customers, bad roofing appointments, bad live personal injury transfers, or bad bike sales. There's always going to be that bitching, moaning, complaining. You say, great, Mr. Johnson, I hear you loud and clear. We can make some adjustments. Let's talk about the people that did show. How much money did you make? Did you lose a significant amount of time by people not showing? Can we fix that? So let's focus on the dollars that you made. And with our current pay per show client, he's totally fine with people no showing, doesn't care. He runs his business anyway. Just like if I didn't show to this interview, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. You'd be like, all right, so Jeff no showed, I'll go find something else to do. Right. And the pay per show model, the pay per lead model, usually those types of clients and customers exist and they understand how it works. The retainer clients, the ones that like to bitch and moan and complain, tend to be over here. And yeah, there's some transition, but the pay per lead, low quality lead conversation, cool. Let's just up the metric and charge accordingly. I'm doing a pay per lead masterclass with a guy that's like, he used to do retainers, he used to go BNI's Chamber of Commerce. That's how I got started. He's like, look, Jeff, I just signed a $100,000 a month agreement for pay per lead and pay per show. I'm never going back to the retainer. I was like, holy shit, man. He's like, yeah, that's with one client. I was like, well, enjoy your retirement. He's like, see you later, bye. I was like, this dude's doing $1 million a year business just for the pay per lead or pay per show. How many retainer clients would I have to deal with to have $1 million a year? It's like, holy shit, I need 30 retainer clients at over $3,000 a month and keep all of them for 12 months. And then hopefully, but he's got one point of contact, one guy he's got to talk to.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I think the pay per lead downside, which is, yeah, you know what? There's going to be bitch and moan complain about pay per lead. I go, you're right. And you know what? People complain about their iPhones. People complain about their Teslas, and people complain about their stand-up desks. And I say, hey, you know what? Clients got to complain about something. So whenever my client complains, no matter what, I say, oh, thank you so much. Why don't you just tell me what's going wrong? And I put them on mute for 5 minutes. And they just talk, and then I unmute them. And then I go, sounds good. What would you like to do from here? That's it. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's cool because you can kind of choose a metric according to what the industry is. So depending on what they do, they might have a different, we want people to show up to a Zoom link, or we want people to, visit us at this location, or, just different things like that.
Yeah. And you can always adjust your Calendly form or your call center conversation or your schedule ones or your Facebook form or whatever it is. I'm doing a retainer model for a medical research facility in South Florida. They're paying me $1,500 a month, totally fine with it. Pay me $1,500 a month, totally fine with it. And they're getting 3 or 4 times a day. They're jumping up and down. Great, fine, perfect. Once a week, they'll call and complain like the lead quality is low. And I'll be like, all right, I hear you loud and clear. Do you remember the original form? I was like, hey, you're on retainer. You don't get great service. You don't get to bitch and moan and complain. And you want like low quality leads. Remember that form right here? Would you like to upgrade and spend $2,000 a month and I will filter accordingly? No, that's okay. I was like, all right. So you're going to get that. And they're like, okay, cool. I'll bitch and moan next week. I go, all right, fine. What are you going to do? And so that client challenge problem is more like a agency client problem, not a function of the model itself. If there's people starting out from scratch, I will tell you like pay per lead is a little bit like a varsity level stuff. Like if I was starting out, I wouldn't do pay per lead. I would start at retainer, just get people saying I like my stuff, pay my mortgage, make sure my head's above water, and then do a little bit more risk, because the pay per lead people they know what they're doing a lot more than the retainer. But everybody's going to bitch. Just get used to it, man. Like, I don't care where you are. Like if you've ever worked as like a waiter or a waitress, they're going to complain about the bubbles in the water. And you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll refill it for you. Oh my God. It's just going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I think you could even use it in a way towards e-commerce. If they had some high dollar products, you could like say per sale or something.
Yeah, that's a legitimate model. I know people in the e-commerce space that do a percentage of profit or a percentage of revenue
Yeah.
or a percentage of sale, which is totally fine. And there are agencies that do a pay-per-lead model similar. So the way that works is, and these are all derivatives of how to charge for your stuff. The analogy is like, yeah, you could buy a car, you could lease a car, you could rent a car, you could Uber a car. It's the same car, it's just how you're charging for it. It's the same brain, same model, how you're charging for it, right? And so you can actually set it up to where like, hey, I've got my monthly marketing budget. I'm going to give it to an agency. I'm going to give them $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 into the marketing. And I'm only paying them for performance. Mm-hmm. So the second you get a sale with that $100,000 a month marketing, I'm going to give you X dollars for each sale. Yeah. At the end of the month, we're going to check the numbers. If it's cool, we're going to continue on for another 30 days. If not, I'm going to give that $100,000 a month to somebody else. And there are a lot of businesses that operate that like. It's totally legitimate, totally functional. The challenge is that you got to know what you're doing. Like no other way around it. Like if you want to get into the e-commerce space or the pay per performance space and you're new, you will be eaten by sharks.
Yeah.
Absolute sharks. So you got to like start out retainer, get your head above water. Usually like if you had like $10,000 a month, your head's above water, you can pay your bills, get a house, that health insurance, a vacation a year type of thing, take care of your kids. And then after that, you can start playing a little bit harder. And it's totally doable. It's totally doable as a career.
Yeah. And I mean, once you can do it, it seems like the customers would just come throw money at you, basically.
That's what happens. Like there are pay per lead, pay per show, pay per performance agencies, both on the local business side, which is I am, and on the e-commerce side, that like out of nowhere will have like $1 million a month in retainers. I'm like, how the fuck did you do that? You're like, man, pay per show. It's like, or pay per performance. I'm like, that's nuts. Now that took them 3 or 4 years to figure out. Yeah. So their chart doesn't look like this. Like there's no overnight success. It looks like this.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last cohort, last 3 months is like, they go from like $500,000 a month to $1 million a month because they adopted clients like that. But it's crazy. Like once you learn how to create demand on demand and charge accordingly for it, like that law of money of like it goes the highest to the person that take care of it the most is so true. And you'll have these like, it's going to sound weird, but these like shithead children that are like 19 years old. And I'm like an angry old man at 36 going like, how are you doing that? They're like, I don't know, man, I just bought another Lamborghini with my earnings this week. I'm like, I hate you so much. So much. He's like, yeah, man, I don't know what it's like to be poor. I'm like, I hate you. Oh, like you get that like weird jealousy, anger situation because you're not part of that new economy. Like the next Bitcoin billionaire, you're like, oh, I hate you. But that's because you're not part of it. Right. And that's a bigger like challenge with like the 1% divide or like the difference between skills that are taught in school versus value in the marketplace. But man, once you're on the other side of that money making equation, it's so fucking weird and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more in terms of some of the things that like a business owner, local business owner, like if they were going to try to DIY some of these things, how would you suggest they start out?
So DIY is totally legitimate. Home Depot has built their entire line of business on people that want to DIY. The homeowners, they're like, I'm not going to pay $500 for somebody to fix my plumbing. I'm going to do it myself for $100. Totally legitimate, totally fine. The challenge is that as a business owner, there's 3 things you need to focus on. And every business in the history of the world that has ever existed has 3 things inside of it. Prospecting. Can I get more people interested in buying what I have to sell? Selling. Can I get them to actually give me money in exchange for product? Third, fulfillment. Can I give them the product or service and make sure they're taken care of? 3 things, nothing else. Everything is supporting of that or adding to or taking away from that. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if it's like software as a service. Cool. So like your prospecting is like a website with a button like Netflix, right? Cool. Prospecting easy. Selling is easy. Fulfillment is like a whole thing. We got to have all these movies and distribute and argue with like L3 communications when they try to squeeze us because of bandwidth or whatever, right? Prospecting, selling, fulfillment. A bad business owner, a bad agency owner will try to do those 3 things all at the same time or give one person the responsibility of all those 3 things. going back to the example of like WordPress. Cool. So I know how to build a WordPress. Let's say Webflow, because that's the new thing, right? I know how to build a website with Webflow. Awesome. So I know all the tools. I know all the tech. I'm really good at the fulfillment. I will spend 5 or 6 hours a day learning about the finities of Webflow, which means you're not spending 5 to 6 hours a day selling clients on Webflow, which means you're not spending 5 to 6 hours a day prospecting clients, being as part of the world, going to, like if you're selling crosses, find your church, right? Where the Webflow customers are. You're not spending 5 to 6 hours a day doing that. Instead, you're stuck over here, which means you have no selling opportunities, which means you don't have prospecting opportunities, which means you're a garage style entrepreneur, just kind of putting stuff together, hoping somebody buys what you have to sell. And that works because you can build a thing and then you try to sell a thing and then you go to market. And that's cool, man. If you want to run your business like a farmer's market, there's nothing wrong with it. It just won't be a $100,000 a year business or $100,000 a month business or $100,000 a week business. It won't, because you are the problem. You are the bottleneck. If you are a business owner trying to DIY, you will be causing that scenario. Just like if I'm a homeowner and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to spend the $500 to hire a plumber. I'm going to go to Home Depot, spend the $100 on a part, spend the 4 hours YouTubing, the 3.5 hours on phone support, think about it for a week, come back, and then say I did it for $400 cheaper. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It took you all that time and all that brain space. You didn't spend time with your kids or prospect for your business or sell somebody a thing. You're lying about your time. And that's usually what happens when a business owner tries to DIY. And that's my disclaimer, right? It's totally possible that as like a local business owner to DIY your client getting activities. It's totally doable. But you're probably going to be lying to yourself about your time. And you're going to have this pendulum swing as you swing from prospecting through selling to fulfillment and then back and forth, back and forth. If you want an example of it, look at everybody on Etsy. Like everybody on the Etsy is making their own stuff, which is fine, legitimate, cool. But you don't get to do that and bitch and moan about how you have no customers. You got to pick your battle. You got to pick your fight. So that's a disclaimer. But to answer your question, it's totally possible to DIY. Let's just say that like you're a small business owner running a bike shop. And that was my first experience with a customer that was going to pay me enough ton of money. This bike shop was paying me $10,000 a month to sell bikes. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking great, right? We figured out what people want to buy from a bike. We did the custom research. We ran the ad. People signed up, called in, and he sold Argon 18s, which is a $10,000 bike. And he was selling 4 or 5 per month. So he's paying me 10 and making 50. It fucking worked, right? Great, fine, perfect. Everybody's having a good time. If that individual wanted to do their own marketing, what they should not do is try to be an expert in marketing. Yeah. They should try to be good enough. Not top tier, not top 1%. We're talking like middle 80%, probably bottom 50%. Because mass majority of businesses that have been in existence for, let's just say 2 or 3 years, have a huge list of customers. And they've never texted them at all whatsoever. At all. So send them a text saying, hey, my name is Jeff. Just checking in. Anything I can do? That's it. Hey, my name is Ralph with a roofing company. Just checking in. How's your roof going? Any problems I can help you solve? Cool. Now, by the way, you're prospecting really scalably with huge scalability, really fast with limited tools. Click send, high level, Twilio, spend an hour, figure it out. You can still do fulfillment, but you're now prospecting. Mass text, easy. You can spend $5 a day on Facebook with a video that you shot like this, just to remind everybody in your serviceable zone that you exist. Hey, what's going on? My name is Jeff. I'm with Jeff the Dentistry. Just want to remind you that to keep it happy and healthy your teeth, do these 3 things. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye. That's it. As a lawyer, you can be like, hey, I'm super psyched to let you know that you're going to be sued one day in your life, and you might as well learn about these 4 things to stop yourself from being sued. If you're interested, click here and download my Google Doc. Doesn't have to be a PDF, literally a Google Doc. That's it. I don't care what business you're in. I'm talking about local lead gen, like local businesses, brick and mortar. If you got like a house that happens to be called your office or your shop, you know what I mean? You can do stuff like that. Just A, send a big text. B, shoot that video, spend $5 a day on video views. Make sure everybody sees it. If you want to have a good time, run the ad where your business is, run the ad where you live, and run it along your commute. People come up to you and say hello. Like, I saw you from the internet. You can keep your eyes on fulfillment and make sure customers are taken care of, and run some middle 80% or bottom 50% prospecting. Cool. Don't have to be an expert on Facebook. Have a good time. Done. You can also do something called the direct offer. And a direct offer is what you do in exchange for money, but just broken up a little bit more. So as an example, like, hey, let's go get our car washed. Well, I'm going to get the deluxe. You and I have no idea what the deluxe is. None. If I was a car wash guy and I advertised the deluxe on Facebook, nobody would be comfortable saying, hey, I want to pay $30 for a deluxe, because they don't know what's in the deluxe. And this is what I call the McDonald's problem. Like, McDonald's has spent $1 billion a year every year for 30 years, making sure you know what's in the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But most businesses aren't $1 billion a year advertising business.
Yeah.
You can't use that. That's what people do, but you can't. So you got to pull it apart. Big Mac, fries and Coke, ball pit, drive-through, money back guarantee. If McDonald's was brand new or a small business or DIYing, they wouldn't say get the deluxe for X dollars. They would say get the Big Mac, fries and Coke, ball pit, drive-through, and money back guarantee for only X dollars. So if you're a small business owner and your eyes are on fulfillment, which is where they should be, you can, again, do just a mass text check-in like, hey, my name is Jeff, the roofer. I'm just checking in and I can do for you. They'll respond and you can turn that into a sales conversation. Great. How about I come by Tuesday and see what I can do for you? And now you're fulfilling. Cool. You can do that that video that I just mentioned. Walk around town. Hey, what's going on? My name is Jeff. I'm the local furniture guy. If you're interested in buying more sofas, want to let you know, not only do we beat everybody else's prices, but we've got Italian furniture in the back you're going to absolutely love. If you're interested, click here and give me a call. Cool. Friendly number 3, look at your best seller and try to sell more of it by breaking it apart. What's going on in Miami, Florida? If you're sick and tired of Doritos in your minivan and blank, blank, and blank, I want to let you know for a limited time for the next 35 people, we're giving away a $75 deluxe car wash, which includes blank, 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 and blank for only $29.99. If you want to grab your ticket and grab your spot, click here and call us now. That's it. So there is a way to DIY and have all of these buckets working without having to take your eyes on the prize. The challenge is that you can only do them like half par or subpar. Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to be sending out 100 text messages, good luck responding to them, right? You're going to get 99 responses and it's up to you to be within that like perceivable window of response time. You can't respond 3 hours later. Mm-hmm. You got to say like, great, how about we schedule now? So you gotta devote time to it, which is time not in fulfillment. Versus hiring someone to do it, they're gonna be looking at that text message, closing those deals, scheduling appointments for you, and doing a live transfer really darn fast. Mm-hmm. They will know how to follow up automatically with everybody that saw that video of you walking around your furniture shop. And they'll know how to break apart your offer, make it competitive, and compare to the other car washes down the street, and set up a soap opera sequence that reminds people to buy. So it is doable. It just won't ever be awesome. It'll be good enough. And honestly, for most people, good enough is totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, well, a lot of them, there's a lot of low hanging fruit there. If you just know a little bit, you can get some good results.
Correct. You don't have to be an absolute expert in everything. Just stay in your lane, have a good time, and then add in a couple things. Like you don't have to be the best at working out to lose weight. You don't. You just got to go an hour a day.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it. That's literally it. And probably eat less Big Macs.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be like a personal trainer to lose weight. You just have to go to the gym. Honestly, it's the same way with a lot of DIY marketing. You won't ever have 6% body fat. You're not going to be benching 315. You're not going to any shows. But hey, for the vast majority of human beings, you can do your own marketing. You just have to know what to do and remove like that part of your brain that says it's not perfect. You just need to have it good enough. And ultimately you have to do this to your brain so you make enough ton of money.
Yeah. Cool. So before you got involved in this, where did you work before?
So I worked, I graduated in the middle of the 2008 financial recession with a degree in finance. Bad call, right? So I was literally studying like derivatives and options and everything that destroyed the market, like mortgage-backed securities, credit default swaps. That was my focus. Fuck, right? That didn't quite work out. So I graduated a degree in finance from a school that's not great, but okay. And I did what everyone else did, which is just stay in school. I got a master's of international business to complement my undergraduate in finance. And then I was either overly qualified or underqualified. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is stupid. I hate how people get hired and how people hire. It's the worst thing in the world. So I tried getting jobs, didn't quite work. I said, I'm gonna stay in school longer. And I applied to the University of Chicago for their summer scholar program. And that was the first time I experienced, and this is gonna sound really messed up, like uncomfortably smart people, like people that were going to be rocket science neurosurgeons and had the managerial capacity to do both. Like the smartest people, not just in the United States, but probably in the world, sit next to me. And for the first time in my life, I was like, whoa, I'm the dumbest person here by far. Like by far. And I was like, this is like really cool and really humbling. And I'm never looking back. Like I so desperately wanted to hang out with people that are smart, driven, motivated, that weren't obsessed with like clubs and cars. And I wanted to get out of Miami. Like I had the wanderlust, the same. I had to leave the farm. I had to self-discover. I had to go west, you know, that type of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I got accepted summer business scholar program in Chicago. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. 6 weeks later, I'm back in Miami. I was like, I'm not staying here. I got to go self-discover. I applied to Washington University in St. Louis for the MBA program. I get in. It's like, holy shit, see you later, goodbye. So I moved to St. Louis. And after the first year, I get a job offer to work at Intel. Now, what's interesting, by the way, is Intel was one of the 10 places I applied to. I got rejected from 7. And then one of them was Intel. The other one was like a job that was like half the salary. And the other one was like a free internship. I was like, all right, well, Intel it is. It wasn't like I wanted Intel. I was like, I applied everywhere. And then I just chose the best one, right? So I worked there for a summer that turns out to be 18 months. I thought it was just a summer thing. And they just kept paying me. So I stuck around. Cool. I don't know if it was an oversight or if it was a year-long program or whatever, but I just kind of stayed. It was fucking awesome. And that was in Portland, Oregon. And then I went back to finish my second year of my MBA program. And then I want to go back work at Intel. And they're like, no. And I was like, come on. They're like, also no. I was like, but please. They're like, fine. The answer is still no. I was like, damn it. So I ended up networking my way to a job at a company called Ericsson in Dallas, Texas. And they own all the cell phone towers in the US. They got huge contracts with AT&T, all that fun stuff. And that was like my first big, oh my God, my forever company. I did like health insurance for the first time, 401ks. I was like, oh my God, we're going to talk about a promotion plan. And I was a systems engineer or business consultant, Lean Six Sigma, stuff like that. And I was set at the intersection of sales and marketing and IT, which effectively meant like I was the CRM guy that understood why the CRM didn't work. And I could tell the sales team to fix it and then actually fix it myself and talk to customers. I was like at this like unique intersection. By the purest of coincidence is actually where an agency usually sits, which is pretty darn cool. Mm-hmm. So I worked for them for about 3 months. And then this is when T-Mobile was getting their up and up. And T-Mobile was like super low cost. Everybody was migrating off AT&T to T-Mobile. And AT&T was like, hey, so we don't have enough money to pay you guys. We're going to cancel a couple of contracts. My entire division gets fired. I was like, fuck. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just go to this other division. And then I go to this other division. Same thing happens again. I was like, fuck. So I go to the third division. By the third time, I've been effectively fired 3 times in 9 months from the only real job I ever had. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just the worst experience ever. And that's where I worked. That's where I really understood like how big businesses work, like their vernacular, their way of thinking, all that fun stuff. We would have these like huge whiteboarding sessions. And this was our goals for the next 3, 6, 9 months. And everybody would be aligned to this goal and let's go. And that's how I do my lunch and learns. But I totally forgot your original question, but I think I kind of answered it. Maybe. Yeah.
I was just like, where did you work before?
Oh yeah. There you go. So Intel, Ericsson, I was a summer scholar at University of Chicago, got my MBA at Washington, St. Louis. But I've been side gigging my whole life because that's like, you got to find a job that keeps you fit, a job that keeps you creative, a job that keeps you money. And only recently with the agency, I found one that's all 3. For the most part, they were always separate, but that's just how the journey is sometimes.
Yeah. And now you're in Miami?
Correct. This is where I grew up. I'm like one of the remaining few white guys in Miami, which is like really, really cool. Like when I walk on, they're like, oh my God, look. I was like, it's fine. It's a lot of fun. I dance country line dancing and salsa dancing. I used to go a lot of rock climbing, but like something about like my fingers now hurt when I go rock climbing. So I just do a lot of weightlifting and jiu-jitsu. But pretty much, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, that's cool to get your backstory and to hear some of the behind the scenes stuff. And so currently your agency, do you guys all work remotely or?
Yeah, all of us. My business partner originally was from Miami, but she's like, I don't want to live here anymore and I can move. So I'm gonna. So she moved to Denver. We've got our account manager that's like 2 hours north of me, but I've met her like once, right? In the past 6 months of working together. We have somebody in Venezuela, somebody in South Africa, and then I don't even know where the other person is. I've never asked, but there's like a team of 6 or 7. and it's all virtual, all remote. We have a Slack channel. We have a meeting once a week. And for the most part, like once you have like clearly defined roles and responsibilities, like if you do that big whiteboard that I mentioned, like here's what everybody's doing, everybody can get really, really good at that one thing. So like yesterday we brought on a client for $24.97 a month, sent him the form, he filled it up, paid, all the triggers happened, like all that CRM stuff that my business partner set up. And then within 30 minutes, they got a call from the account manager welcoming them. Here's the information, just confirming, great, you have 36 hours to fill that information back to us. Got another client that's interested in coming on board. I'm going to charge them, and then the CRMs will like, and the roles and responsibilities will kick in, and it's really cool, like seeing that happen. And I'm looking around my office, I'm like, nobody's here. It's just me. And then you can see all this stuff happening through Slack or Trello or High Level or CRM or all the technical tools, and it's really, really cool. But yeah, I haven't met half my team ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can see the value of that, because right now, the way I run my business, I just have my wife and I, and we just kind of do what comes up. And sometimes when you're working on the business, you're like, I've been working on the business so much, it would be nice. Well, you don't really have time to do the actual work sometimes, It's crazy. So
good stuff. What else you got for me?
Well, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the group and how that plays into part in what you do and what led you to start that.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty interesting, because when I paid my first chunk of cash to accelerate my learning curve, I didn't want to like fuck it up. I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't need another failure. That's where I was. Like I experienced so many failures in my life. I didn't need another one. And so I was literally going to Facebook groups and my personal profile, stuff like that, and reporting in like the boss at my old jobs. Like I needed that structure. Like every 2 weeks, I would go in and say, this is what I did. This is what I need help with. This is what I'm working on. And I would go in and I would report in. And the craziest thing is, like, if you start telling people you're going to the gym and then you write down you went to the gym, you'll go to the gym and you will lose weight, right? And so what happened is every time I got a sale, I would add it to the picture. So like I just said $8,000 a month. Here's our current clients. Here's our future clients. Here's what I need help with, stuff like that. 2 weeks later, we got another client, $10,000 a month. Another client, $15,000. And it kept notching up and up and up to a point where in like 8 months, we were doing like $42,000 a month. And as a solo person agency, this is my first version, I capped out at $42,000 a month. Like I couldn't take on any more clients. There were too many things going on. I was doing all three boxes, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so at $42,000, I capped out. But I was totally unaware of the fact that everybody was like reading these posts, following my journey, things like that. I had no clue until one day I turned on the followers count on my personal profile, and there was like 5,000 people following me. I was like, I had no idea that was a thing at all whatsoever. I was just putting stuff up, and then people would comment and like, whatever, it's fine, right? But what's interesting is I was just trying to be gosh darn honest to myself and my pretend boss, which was just the post, right? And people were like reading and having a time. And sometimes like I'd be like, here's my big learning for the week. You should probably audit your client's sales calls and see why they suck. And then everyone be like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, that's what I got from Intel. Like when I was working there, we would audit the salesperson's sales calls and do some adjustments. You can call your clients' customers for them and then actually like pretend sell and get them to schedule an appointment, record it and give it back to your client. Be like, what do you mean these people aren't picking up the phone? Like I half closed somebody. What do you mean? Right.
Yeah.
And so that type of stuff was pretty cool. And all I was trying to do was just be honest with that post, reporting in like a boss. And one day I'm sitting down with a whole bunch of friends at a workhouse. Like we just got a house for like 2 weeks just to work together. Because like when you work with people, the speeding of that event is much faster. Like you don't have to wait. You're like, hey, I have a problem. They come over and fix it. And 30 seconds later, you're done. And it would have taken you 3 days to fix that type of stuff. So we just got a big house together. And one of the guys was like, hey, you know what? You should start a Facebook group. And I was like, nah, I don't need another hanging Chad. I don't need another failure. I don't need something else to happen. Like, nah, I don't need another variable in my life, another spinning plate disease. I don't need that. Yeah. He's like, you should do it. I was like, no. And it got to a point where 10 of these people were yelling at me to start a group. Yelling at me. They're like, you need to start a group right now. I was like, I don't think so. And then they all came over. All at the same time, they were yelling at me. And the yelling and the fear of disappointing them overcame the fear of disappointing internet strangers. I was like, all right, fine, I'll start a fucking group. I don't give a shit. I wrote up a post and I was like, if you want to link to the group, leave an elephant GIF and I'm done. And I posted it out of a huff and puff, and I shut the laptop and I walked away. I'm done, right? Yell at me all you want. I'm fucking finished, right? I come back the next day, open up my laptop. There's 550 people that left elephant gifts. Like there are so many elephant gifts, like Facebook doesn't load. Like your laptop spins up. There's too many gifts, right? And that was the kickstart. And I was like, all right, if these people are really interested in like doing some group stuff, fine, let's do it. And at this point, I was still like antagonistic, like not accepting of the roles and responsibilities, hasn't grown into it. It's like, fine, whatever. We'll put everybody in group and I'll ask them what they want. So I asked them what they want, and then they said, this is what we want. I said, okay, I'll go live. And that was the start of the custom research process, the lunch and learn process, and the masterclass process. And ever since then, I've had a weekly lunch and learn where people ask me questions. I teach a thing that I'm doing in my agency or learning from a book. Hey, this is what we're trying out. Half the time, by the way, like there's a tech issue, which is hilarious. Like I'll be talking to a blank screen and then BeLive says you're reconnecting. And you're like, what do you mean reconnecting? Like I never disconnected. And then I look at the replay, there's like a 5-minute chunk missing. The other half of the time, the idea itself is just bad. Like it's not going to work. But the other half of the time, somebody actually makes a chunk of cash from it. It's like, that's pretty darn cool. Because this is stuff that I'm doing in my agency. There's no way in how I could get like an osteopath client in downtown Jersey. It's not going to happen, right? That's not my client, not my customer. Ain't going to work. But hey, there's something called knowledge transfer. You can take something from one industry and apply it to another industry, and sometimes it works. Just like I did with Intel and Ericsson and transmitting information between sales teams. It's like, cool, everybody wins. And since that day, which I think is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 100, 200 people every single day have been requesting a join. We adopted the butt as a logo, Agency Scaling Secrets, which is like a whole conversation itself. Yeah. And now up to like 56,000 people. I'm like, damn, like that's so fucking cool. And at no point did I ever feel like abused by the group, which happens very like easily and quickly and very often. Like a tribal leader, which is like, I don't, it's not a cattle call group of like, hey, who's waiting to pay me money? It's like, no, this is like a tribe of people. And very often it's easy to be abused by internet strangers. I've never felt that once because I have very clear lines of like, no guys, you're adults. I'm going to set the boundaries. You exit the boundaries. I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to give you a speeding ticket, and then you go to jail, and I'm kicking the hell out. Don't break the barriers, and everybody's fine with that. I said, look, I'm not going to answer tags or PMs. Ask me on the lunch and learn. If it's important enough to wait 2 days, that's important enough for me to answer. Don't PM me expecting a response. It ain't going to happen. And we do Friday interviews, and I will have an offer once every other week if you're interested in paying me money. And that's the rules. And everybody's cool with it. And the reason why it's cool is because the lunch and learns are actually valuable. Like people can make money with them. Yeah. It's not like me trying to like expert secret them or anything like that. Like, no, here's what we're doing. This works. This is working. And I still run an agency. I'm not like an agency guy selling agency stuff that's secretly coaching. Like, nope, I still run an agency. We brought in 5 clients last week, 1 today, 1 day before, a whole bunch of renewals, paper show, all that fun stuff. I'm just documenting my journey. If you'd like to come along, you can pay me money for it. And everybody feels really, really cool about that. It's like, it's no different than going to like Publix, which is like, hey, we got some free samples. Would you like more? You're going to have to pay. And everybody's cool with that. And it all started about 2 or 3 years ago where a whole bunch of people were yelling at me to open a group and elephant gifts. And now there's 56,000 members of the Ass Fam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. The group itself it's an awesome group because there's not there. If you look for Facebook ads groups, the other ones in there, like there's just nothing really where you can get helpful advice. I don't know if you've seen some of the other ones, but it's just kind of bad.
I've been part of the other tribes and they feel like a cattle call group. Like it's all based upon like the guy who started it. And it's based upon like, hey, you're going to have to pay money. You get a whole bunch of PMs. I know there's PMs in the group, but like I try to like say like, please don't do it. Report, I'll give you money, get banned type of stuff. And I think it's really a function of my master classes, which is like, hey, man, I get it. You're here for help and advice. Go for it. And there are some groups, by the way, where nobody can actually post. It's only the owner who can post. I'm like, nah, man, that's not what we're going for. Yeah. Like I'll join those groups. I'm like, I'm really not in the business of trying to be sold 24/7. No, thank you. The downside is that like, I don't make as much money as everybody else, but I don't give a shit. Like I'm totally okay with not making $100 million a year. It's fine. Like, whoops. Right. Yeah. Like I know some people that run groups that do those numbers and I'm like, Well, I like my people, so thank you.
Yeah.
And it works really well. So I appreciate the compliment. It's actually like, it's really cool to hear that back from people that are like actually part of the group and like, hey man, I like it. And we work pretty hard to keep it that way. So thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people too on the Facebook ads. Like if you run any ads ever, you'll be displayed ads from other agencies that are like, well, come join our training or whatever. Like millions of them.
Yeah. And our free training. Like I know what that means. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's crazy. And I initially thought that's what you were, but then I realized later on, it's like, no, it seems like he does his own stuff and he's just sharing what he does.
That's pretty accurate. Like the YouTube channel is, like I've been doing all my stuff through BeLive and I totally forgot that like BeLive saves all your stuff. And I've been uploading a whole bunch of stuff from the Lunch and Learns and BeLive into YouTube. And I'll get a comment like every other day, like, yo man, this is awesome stuff. I'm like, thanks, I appreciate it. And then I'll get like a PM, like, why aren't you trying to sell me anything? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, like your YouTube channels, you're supposed to sell me a thing. I'm like, I am? Are you sure? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, would you like an invoice? Like, I don't understand. And when you look at the Lunch and Learns, they're not me trying to like expert secret or shatter false beliefs. They're just, hey, look, man, I think I found a thing. You're an adult and you can either do this yourself or do it with me. Both options are fine. And so, yeah, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of work requests from people in the group that are like, hey, we want you to do our stuff?
It happens a lot. And I take it as like a compliment, but I have to be like, hey, look, man, like I'm already capped out. Like I have to apply critical thinking and doing a lot with agency stuff. And I already have like a coaching program. And if you would like to employ our services, you have to talk to our CEO or COO. Like I can't help you out. So I'll do a group invite and it's up to that person on my team to accept the work or not. The number one request I get is actually for sponsorship. And I've been pretty much like against it for a long time. We're going to be running a test to see if that negatively impacts the group. Because what I don't want is I don't want somebody like to sponsor and then that forces someone else who has a competing service to not comment, right? Yeah. I don't want that to happen. I just want like, hey, this is a sponsor. They just get first view and then the money's in the comments, right? Like that you can only make the money by solving people's problems. Then they go to your personal profile. So we're going to run a test and see what happens. That'll definitely buy us a lot of brain space and see what happens from there. And I know a lot of other groups do something like that. So we'll see. I don't have any like high expectations. We'll just imagine what happens and we'll take it from there. Yeah,
I thought that was a good idea. I saw that the other day, mainly because if you've ever tried to hire someone for something kind of odd or specific, you go into Upwork or whatever, it's like, I don't know. For some reason, I just think of Upwork because I'm like, maybe I can find somebody that has this skill. But the good people, they're like, nah, we don't want to do it. And then like a bunch of people that have never done it before, they'll message you. So it would be nice to have like a list of like, we'll do your creatives, we'll do ad copy, we'll do this, I think it's a good idea.
And there's a lot of people that I've been admiring from a distance from that get tagged like 50 times. Like there's a guy that's like, is probably the best fast graphic designer person in the world. Like he will do 3 days worth of work in like 30 minutes, not because it's him, but because he has like 50 people working for him. It's cheap, it's fast, it's the best Chinese food you ever had in the whole world, right? And it's absolutely nuts that he doesn't have the same visibility or better visibility than somebody who PMs you like 55 times. So I'm trying to like balance this equation out correctly. My suspicion is that it's going to work, but I'm going to watch it very, very closely because like I mentioned before, I don't want that guy who's sponsoring to purposefully or accidentally bully out somebody who's starting out because that would have ruined my journey in the beginning. And all of this is like just building a castle, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for it. And who knows, maybe it'll work.
Yeah. Well, cool stuff. Where would you like people to go to find you?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that very much. My name is Jeff. You can Google Jeff Miller. You can Facebook Jeff Miller. Or if you want to join the group directly, go to Facebook Ads Agency Scaling Secrets, type in the search bar in Facebook. It's the only group with a butt on it. I think so, right? Every Wednesday we have a lunch and learn. So if you want to ask me whatever questions, you can do that right then and there. It's usually around 12 o'clock. Sometimes I'll come up with like a mini lesson of something that we're doing, like paper show or how to land furniture clients or like how to break apart a direct offer, everything that we mentioned. Fridays, we have an interview with somebody that's either paid me money, I've paid money to, or is like doing really, really well and I admire. And I'm pretty like, I disclaim that pretty effectively. Like, I have paid this money, I have paid money to this person in the past, or they have paid me money and I'm highlighting them as a result, or this person's just doing good. I want to bring them on the show. And the reason why I do this is because sometimes I'll be watching an interview and I'm like, this is going too well. There's got to be something behind the lines. And I just need to like know if there's dollars exchanged. And I figure people are the same way. Yeah. Also, once a month or once every 2 weeks, we have what's called a masterclass. It's about $97. And we know what to teach in the masterclass based upon a Monday customer research. And so like we have a lot of people that are like, hey, I want to learn pay per lead. I want to learn pay per show. I was like, great. We're going to sell tickets. I'm going to hire an expert and he's going to teach for like an hour, hour and a half for $97. Dan Wardrope is doing one for pay per lead or pay per show. We've had Nick Robbins do it, Alex Linsky, Ravi Abuvala, Andrew Cruzy, like a whole bunch of people that are on the up and up have come on board and shown and trained and taught with like, it just feels like a fair amount of dollars, which is really cool. So that's all the stuff we do. And it's ultimately a really cool time.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you coming on the show and yeah, have a good rest of the day.
You got it. Catch you later, buddy.
All right, we'll see you.